Well, it's now time to bring in focus our feature on the show today. Now, the watchword for businesses at this point in time across key sectors of the economy, both home and abroad, from agriculture to aviation, manufacturing and much more, is plan, re-strategize and respond. Now, so far, updated strategies and recommendations for employers responding to COVID-19 include those seeking to resume normal or full as well as phased business operations, conducting daily health checks, hazard assessment of the workplace, encouraging employees to wear masks, face shields, and also use alcohol-based sanitizers, implementing policies as well as practices for social distancing in the workplace, and improving the building ventilation are just some of the new ways to thrive in the new norm. And I have with me via Skype Elsie Ilori, the head of disease surveillance of the NCDC. Good to have you on the breakfast show today as we discuss through the new guidelines set up for resumption of operations.
Good morning.
Now,
good to be here.
Exactly. Now, let's start off with protocols put in place now. Take, for example, the aviation sector now. Airlines are demanding that passengers must provide COVID-19 negative status reports before they can board any aircraft at this point in time. Now, going back to normal businesses and corporate organizations, it's not just business as usual, but for so many at this point in time, they've forgotten. So if we just play a reminder now, what should be the safety protocols at the workplace to ensure that we have proper resumption and then we can all get back to business as usual?
Thank you. Well, for the workplace, the most important is that we keep all the non-pharmaceutical interventions. That includes putting on our face mask before we go into the premises. Of course, we expect that the employers would have put in place a wash station in front of the offices. So anyone that comes in will wash their hands, and we'll have a temperature check, because anyone that comes in with a high temperature will definitely be should be turned back to, go back home. Now, I've talked about the workstation. You put on your face mask. Now, employers are, most times you have the full capacity, that's the normal. But we are advising now that you do not have your full capacity at a particular time. And that means, having a shift in terms of some people will work from home, and while some will work physically in the office. And thereby you're creating that physical distancing within the office space. Now, we expect that in the offices, we expect that the employers provide all the necessary things, even after the entrance into the premises. In every strategic area in the offices, there must be sanitizer, and then there must be regular cleaning of the office areas in terms of the door handles, the railings of the staircases, if there are offices that have staircases, and then also making sure that they keep all the employers are checked regularly. We've had situations where staff comes in and they are not properly checked, and they get infected, and the whole
if I may button here now at this point in time, let's also talk about adherence. How key is this as business resumes? Well, you've already rightly mentioned, so many businesses are adopting the staggered operations, phased operations, not working at full capacity. But how important is adherence at this point in time, and not just mistaking it as business as usual for the fact that we are resuming?
Well, for any workplace, for you to get a high productivity, you must take care of your staff. And so even if we're talking about the security or the agencies or those enforcement agencies coming in to enforce, to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do, I think we should learn to do things rightly and make sure that we put the necessary things in place and make our workers happy, and so that they can give us enough productivity, and I think that's the most important.
Now, at the workplace and different workstations, re-emphasizing how much we have to have a reminder at different work posts in terms of reminder notes and messages, and also creating team leads to monitor and also checkmate other colleagues to ensure that everybody's keeping their workstations quite safe. What's your word on adherence and ensuring that we are strategically and also intentional about reinforcing the message of safety?
Yeah, thank you. In a workplace, you must have a plan, a strategy in the workplace. And that's following with the guidelines that the NCDC has provided. You have a strategic plan, and that includes, of course, having the various the workstation, having making sure that the staff members have all the necessary the face mask, the alcohol-based sanitizer in place, and then having the list, reviewing the contacts of all your staff. That is very important. Then having a sign, showing them the signs and symptoms. You must be able to educate your staff, the workers, on the signs and symptoms of COVID. That's very, very important. Then having regular meetings with your staff, sensitizing them regularly, and trying to, there's this issue about even the mental health of your staff, understanding them. So I think the guideline has specified a lot of things that you need to put in place, and also helping your staff to be able to work. We talked about having reducing the numbers that come in regularly, having that physical distancing, and making sure it is in place. Now, for us to do we need to have a group of persons that will be monitoring regularly and be checking to make sure the staff have are implementing all these measures that we have put in place, and that they are adhering to the measures that we have put in place. This is very key. So the workplace is expected to have a team that have been well trained, and they know all the IPC measures. Of course, the team must be well trained on IPC, that's infection prevention and control measures, and all the necessary IPC materials, supplies must be in place. So the workplace is very important for us, and at NCDC we have provided the guidelines. You can go into our website, microsites, and get the guidelines for the various offices. You mentioned agriculture and all the other various manufacturing sector. We have guidelines for them. It's included in the guidelines. Thank you.
Now, if I get you clearly now, you insist that the stance of the NCDC and its word to business entities, corporate organizations, non-governmental agencies is that at this point in time, it should be phased operations. Is that what you're saying? Not full capacity, and be strategic as to how work operations are conducted?
Yes. Exactly, that's exactly what I mean, because there is no way you can have your full capacity at the same time, except if that is already practiced. That's the physical distancing is already practiced in the workplace, and that means that you have that 2 meter apart in each of the offices, or you have just your own office space that you're not sharing with anyone. But I don't think most offices will have that, because you have a place where you have a large number of persons. So if you have that situation, you must be able to reduce the number of persons that come in. And so you have, I think we need to now start encouraging working at home and having more of virtual meetings. And that's the norm now. It's the global norm now, having virtual meetings. And so the workplace should encourage such meetings. And where you do not have that facility, that luxury of having virtual meeting, where that like in the manufacturing sector, where you need the physical presence of your staff, then you make sure that physical distancing is adhered to. The 2 meter physical distancing is adhered to, and all the non-pharmaceutical interventions are put in place. and that includes the face mask. They must provide face masks for their staff and sanitizer for their staff. And like I said earlier, we also place sanitizer in strategic positions in the workplace.
Exactly. Well, not all organizations or individuals can work remotely, and for those who have to have physical contact with one another, safety is the watchword. Thank you very much for your contribution on the breakfast show today, Elsie Lurie.
Thank you for having me. It's a
You're welcome.
pleasure.